Hey guys, Studious Toe here, and welcome to The Bagel Nation. And we are back with this playthrough of Dark Souls. Last time we left off, I believe I was teasing something with the Belfry Luna area, and then completely ignored it. This is post-commentary, by the way, so we actually won't be getting to the Belfry area for a little while, but we will get there in a little bit. Here I came to What's-Her-Face, the Miracle Lady. What's-Her-Face is actually her true name. You find that out, spoilers, near the end of the game. It's a hidden dialogue. It takes a lot of work to find, but I was seeing if there's any miracles I wanted to buy, and it turns out there weren't. And so I decided to go spend a lot of souls over here at the Emerald Herald on leveling up. If I remember right, I do a decent amount of just walking around and business at the beginning of this. So I decided to go ahead and cut out some of the boring stuff there. And we're back here at the Lost Bastille, and I am heading now towards the Lost Center. It may or may not be up at this point, but the reason I did Lost Center at this point instead of doing gargoyles or anything else is because I wanted some footage of it for a video that will be on YouTube eventually. It's the first in a series called What Does Dark Souls Say? Plugging that, and if it's out already, I'm sure there'll be some kind of annotation or some doodly-doo around that you can click on to access that if you are so interested. Here we're just running around the Bastille, and these guys, I think they've kind of become known as turtle men, even though they're the old iron in elsewhere in the game are much more turtle-like. I'm not really sure why, at least I and some of my co-op friends call them old iron. To be honest, they're old iron. I mean, turtles, they're not really turtle-like. They have very few turtle-like characteristics. But I guess their cape is kind of like a shell. That's the best I can surmise. And actually, I pull that lever and decide to go elsewhere. Here, I'm recording this a couple days after I recorded the gameplay, so there's the door with the very sad skeleton inside, cemented in. It's pretty, I guess, disturbing or saddening or something along those lines. I opened that lever up there, and then I decided to go a different direction. Actually, I think I might have just been checking out the graphics here, seeing the improvements over the console release of this game. And maybe also checking out if there was a jump down there that I didn't know about. This area is kind of annoying, to be honest, not for any real reason. That's a shortcut back to where we were. Well, sort of a shortcut. I'll explain that in a second, but because once you drop down here, you can't go back without going through other areas. So if you're co-oping with someone, you can't get back. There is, however, the one way to get back, I'll rephrase that, is to use a Pharos Lock stone in a particular Pharos Lock, of course. And it's kind of annoying to have to do that, because you can actually get to most of the Pharos Lock stuff without using the Pharos Lock. Well, about half of the Pharos Lock stuff you don't actually need. Behind the Pharos Lock stone is a cage a la Sin's Fortress that you and your friends can get in, and it'll take you back to the main path of the level, so to speak. But you can get to that cage and get the stuff behind that portion of the Pharos Lock without using it. There's only, I think it's a soul vessel, which is actually a pretty important item, is the item you get in here without using a Pharos Lock. I don't remember if I had any at this point, and I'm pretty sure I didn't use one. Actually, I'm certain I didn't use one. A soul vessel, since I'm not picking up, I can explain without the item or the description or anything. A soul vessel is the item that lets you respec your character. You run across, I think I had about 5 by the end of my first playthrough. They're rare enough that you can't just do it arbitrarily, but they're not so rare that it's not worth using. This is the Twin Blade, the Darth Maul weapon. Kind of the coolest weapon in the game, although I don't know about its viability. I haven't really used it yet, and I know the PvP community talks about having significant shortcomings, especially because you get so many hits in, and those all count individually towards your towards the durability. There I am showing where the Pharos lock comes out. Yeah, it's a cool weapon, and there's even a Black Knight version of it that I don't think I know how to get it. So, but it's pretty nifty. There's a dog that I somehow managed not to kill. There's a well over to the left. Okay, you kind of just got a glimpse of it there, but it's a trap hitting that stone down. I believe you get some armor out of it, but it's more of those exploding enemies down there, and they can be a pain if you don't handle it carefully. And yeah, the exploding enemies, I think, are one of the bigger missteps of this game, to be completely honest. They're unnecessarily difficult, and they're not a good, I don't know, they're not the right kind of difficulty. I don't know necessarily how to articulate what I would deem proper difficulty. Here you see me. I think I'm looking for a secret wall. And through here is another courtyard that connects back to the Macduff bonfire, the second blacksmith we found. When you see me miss lightning spears like that, it's because I'm firing them hoping I get into range, to lock on range before it finishes casting. It's me trying to get get in the cast as quickly as possible before, in the case of the dog, before they would charge me and potentially cancel the spell, or at least cause me to take damage. So the goal is to just cast it a little bit before you're in lock on range. Sometimes I fail, like I did there just a second ago. Through here, I don't think I went up there, actually. I think I went in there, decided to do it later, and then never came back. And back here is one of the most important items in the area, I guess. I don't know, not really. But it is an Estus Flask shard and a large Titanite shard, which ain't too bad neither. I was hyped up and then pressed the wrong emote or gesture, whatever it's called. Over here is the shortcut back to Macduff, and you might start recognizing the area. There's a doge there, and behind this gate, and you can sort of see the bonfire there through the window. Behind this gate, you can get back to it. And you can do this area from this bonfire, or this portion of the area anyway. I don't think you can get to the... I think you have to go through Sentinels to get to the Lost Sinner, that portion of the Bastille, but I've been wrong many a time. Also, an interesting thing about Dark Souls 2 is that you can still summon sometimes when it seems like you shouldn't be able to. At least by Dark Souls 1 logic. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I think it's... I don't know. I'm sure in a few weeks or months, or maybe even someone already has figured out how the summoning system works. And then we come back to the Servants' Quarters bonfire and proceed to proceed. That's really smart English. Proceed to go through the level again. And I had a great thought. or at least a good one that has slipped my mind. Anyway, you'll see there a decent number of summon signs. This was, I want to say, the second day of the game's release when I recorded this, so not completely sure, but I think it is a good thing that seeing this many signs so early. An area that's a decent amount through the game. Like, you can get here pretty quickly if you try. And the exploding enemies didn't kill me with explosions. Okay, we're back. If I remember right, there are a few really stupid deaths like that. And here I am. I know there's another bonfire coming up, and I'm fine wasting my casts to make my job a little easier. I guess it's not a waste of a cast if you're getting progress, doing damage, making things easier. Casts, to me, at least in the first game, were very much my panic button, especially pyromancy. It was, I'd prefer to, you know, do as much melee as possible, not waste casts, but oh, those barrels you can knock off and they explode. But pyromancy was always there for me. Was always there for me. No, but yeah, it was always very useful for if I got in a situation I felt like I couldn't handle. Gave me just enough range and to back away, and I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about pyromancy in this game yet. Has more range. It seems to be just as powerful, so I'm not sure why I have hang-ups on it at the moment. Later on this character, I do get some pyromancy going. Really haven't done too much with pyromancy though, so my opinion is subject to change quite a bit. This is one of the dumber areas. It's pretty annoying. I'm not sure what you're actually supposed to do to get out of here, but you might be just supposed to drop down there. But the way that you can get out is also a way that is very easy to die in. Unlike the first game, you get a little bit of vertical leap when you jump, which is good and all, except that sometimes you need to jump at the peak, the pinnacle of your jump, and it's very difficult. I think this takes me a little bit. I could edit it out, but I'm showing you the struggle of Dark Souls 2, I suppose. It's really is quite annoying. This has caused at least one death, a very frustrating death while co-oping. Just, it's also very easy to fall off to your death. And you can't jump anymore while you're running at a wall. There, I finally make it. And I see a jump that I think I can make, and this is the first time I've ever tried it, so I'll preserve the surprise of whether or not it works. Oh, first I gotta look at the, oh! I cast at the Hay Knight down here. I take him out without any trouble. The Hay Knights, you know, they're really not as difficult as the Black Knights, the Black Knights, the Batmans from the first game, but they're, I don't know, this Spear Knight gives me probably the most trouble of any of them. They're deceptively fast. And then I find out a new jump in this area, so. And down here, you can get to this area via a different path. Going through the No Man's Wharf area of the game, and coming via the ship after Flexile Sentry, or the ship that you fight Flexile Sentry on. And there's a bonfire. There's not really much down there. I think there's like a couple items I wait to get until coming back. And here I am just appreciating how good this game looks on PC. I'm sure between YouTube and my own compressions that it's not too great for you, but hopefully you should be able to see, especially if you've seen any console footage, that this just really does look a lot better. I don't know if it's even quite up to the level of the demo footage we were shown, but it's still very much appreciated. The game is stable. It runs 60 FPS. Another thing you can't see because of YouTube and my own. Actually, I'm not even watching this in 60 FPS now, so. But it really is just fantastic to look at, and it helps the immersion. I think Vaati has like a 16-minute video talking about all of the improvements, and it's really nice just overall. I'm glad that they took an extra month and a half to fix everything. It really, I think it paid off. And now we're back. Also, I should point out that I am still using the large leather shield for some reason, and the starting armor, neither of which I probably should be using, because I have the Drangleic shield already, if I remember correctly, and it's just better, and I have the stats to use it also, because I got the stats to use my mace. I think I switched to the Drangleic shield pretty soon. And something else I was just kind of pondering, I don't know if the thought leads anywhere, but the 4 Lord Soul bosses of the original game are at the end of the game, pretty much. They're essentially the last 4 bosses you have to do before. What am I thinking? They're the last 4 bosses before you have a major brain fart. Before you fight Gwyn. There we go. Goodness. This game, they're the 4 bosses you do before just going to the Shrine of Winter, which is maybe a little more than halfway through the game. Not really, I don't know exactly when, but it's the first part of the game, so that's interesting that, I don't know, the first half of the game is built very much on Dark Souls 1, and then it becomes its own thing around around the Shrine of Winter when you go to Drangleic Castle, which for me, and I think for a lot of people on the internet, is where the game really starts feeling cool and like, wow, this is a really good game, and not just, oh, it's a good game. It reminds me of Dark Souls, but it's probably not as good. And, you know, the jury, I think, is still out on whether this is actually a better game or not. My guess is that it will be considered a better game, though it does have some flaws. And I think I've talked about this before. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if how much that is significant to the lore, that the first thing you do is take out the Lord Soul bosses, essentially, and then you go and do the more linear path. Once you do the 4 Lord Soul bosses, the path to the end of the game is pretty linear. Is the castle, you do the castle, and then you do might be forgetting a boss. There's the crypt and the everlasting dragon, the ancient dragon, which is optional, but it is a pretty linear progression through the rest of the game, until you get to the Watcher, Defender, and Nashandra, which I think it is Nashandra, not Nashandra, which I always say Nashandra, and I guess I'm wrong. This is the worst bonfire in the game, because, as you'll see, there are 3 enemies who are right there that are shooting at you immediately. Here I place a sign. Not sure how much of this I'll be editing out, but I'm sure I'll edit out a decent chunk of it. But these enemies are a pain. They hit very hard, and especially in New Game Plus, which a little later I use a bonfire set and send the area into New Game Plus. They are just a pain. I'm gonna edit this out here because actually what I'm doing is just killing them until they stop respawning, because it's that worth it to me to not have them here. Okay, and we are back now. I cut out probably, I think, around 20 minutes here of me helping other people doing stuff. I think we have one successful run of a boss. I think I died right at the end of another one. Turned human, which didn't really need it for summoning purposes or anything, but it was just a nice thing to have. I like, especially when I'm posting stuff on YouTube, it's nice to have a human person, especially when I'm playing shirtless, like I am now. Here is Lucatiel, or summon sign. I think she dies in this fight, but we'll see. Here I am just running through. I'm pretty tired of this area, to be honest. Just in general, not even for this particular playthrough. It's very annoying. There's some enemies you don't have to fight. Also, NPC summons in this game are considerably better at keeping up with you and will not get stuck on enemies that if they fight them. So that's kind of a nice thing. I'm using my casts here instead of on the boss fight because the boss fight, I'm sure some of you are familiar with what the kind of gimmick of the fight is, that because it's dark, you can't lock on to the boss. So, you can light the room up through alternative methods. You have to get a key, and then you have to unlock the doors, and blah, 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 blah. I don't know that's necessarily worth it unless you're co-oping with someone and you're a caster, because if you are soloing the boss, then there's almost... you're probably not going to get far away long enough to cast at it, or to need that light. Also, off camera, I upgraded my stats and my weapons and just about everything. Yeah, these guys are super annoying, and you see the because I'm using lightning, the water, it creates a water effect, and it hurts enemies in the area. It's pretty nice and handy, especially here with those little guys, the explodies that attack Lucatiel, that will die in one hit from the lightning on the water. But Lucatiel's keeping up with me like a champ. I thought she was gonna die. I just decided to run for it. And so here we go, Lost Center. Lost Center. What to say about the Lost Center? It's a girl, if you didn't know. Had strong connections to Bed of Chaos, Witch of Izalith, Daughters of Chaos, etc. Not the easiest boss in the world, but once you get it down, it's not too bad. Actually, this is not my current strategy for fighting the boss. I did this in New Game Plus with probably a little underleveled from where I would be in a normal New Game Plus playthrough. I used a bonfire aesthetic to do that, and I just circled I'm circling to the right here, but to the left is how I do it in the next fight that I do, which is later in the playthrough, of course. Lucatiel hung in there for a while, but alas, she seems it's easier to dodge to the left because of the easier to take advantage of the iframes and such. I've said before, I think, that dodging, or maybe that's in a different future video, who knows, dodging is more about avoiding the attack than invincibility framing to the attack, which is pretty different from the original game, but it's I think it's a welcome change. When I heard about all the changes in invincibility frames, I was happy with most of these. Lost Center likes to jump around like that, and I just watched that and was surprised I didn't try to heal or anything. I was one hit from death, but so was she, so I hedged my bets and took it. Took it to the bank. I'm looking for the way out. I go out this way and then realize it's the wrong way. Did I? Oh, I'm picking up an item. I don't know why I remembered that I hadn't picked that up after doing the boss fight, but who knows? Lost Center, it's a good boss fight, I'll say. I like it. Don't know if that counts for much. But anyway, that looks like that should about wrap us up for this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. I really appreciate it. If you want to see more of this playthrough or any of my other Dark Souls 2 or any other content on my channel, feel free to subscribe. I've been Studies Toe. Thanks for watching, and as always, enjoy your stay in the Bagel Nation.